First episode of the Fire Up Fantasy Podcast. We got Nate, Trev, and Tim, 4 of the 5 draft gods here. Start with some introductions. Nate, you go first.
Hi, I'm Nate, and I'm fired up.
Nate's fired up. Trev, what you got?
Hey, everybody. I'm Trev, and I'm just here to learn.
Trev's here to learn. Tim, you're up.
All right, what's up? Tim Goldberg, Fire Up Fantasy TG.
Right throws for the end zone. It is caught. DK Metcalf. Touchdown, San Francisco. George Kittle just wanted it more. Burrow airs it out. Chase. Hello. Touchdown, Cincinnati. Abrams down the sideline. He's going to take this all the way. Going deep. Devontae Smith.
First episode, guys, it's gonna be wacky. We're not going to be doing the low-hanging fruit here. We're not going to probably do rankings or anything like that, but we will do strategy talk. We will do a lot of stuff about 2 quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks. Who do you like? Who do you hate? But not a lot of focus on player takes. We're going to try to be different from everybody else. So we're going to start things off. Where do you guys want to lead off, Trev?
I think we could go down maybe the first round. Who do you guys like the best? What spots are you liking to pick from? In the first round, what spots do you find and you kind of dread when you see that that number hit your screen? All right, so I think I like it more so than in previous years. I like picking from the 11-12 spot and getting the back-to-back pick. Obviously, everyone likes going early, but this year in particular, you can get a guy like CMC 8 and just kind of gamble on that, or you can go with Genty and then take, Brian Thomas or Derrick Henry and just be set up for success. Get 2 studs early, late in the first round, and in a way that I think in previous years you really didn't have that kind of solid start that late in the first round.
Nate, who do you like? Where do you like picking from?
Oh, I'll take any spot. I'm just happy to be here. Honestly, I kind of prefer the back half too. Only because, obviously Chase is great going first, but coming back, I feel like I don't want to force a Chase Higgins stack, and I don't like forcing McBride there. It seems like the ADP is pushed onto me of who I have to select, and it just seems kind of monotonous, where the back half, you get the variety of Malik or CMC or Henry or Amon-Ra or Nico. All those guys could get to 9, 10, 11, 12, or possibly back to. But even the middle spots are fine for me. What about you, Tim?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much kind of the same. I also enjoy, 10 through 12. Obviously, one is nice with Chase, but I like going 2 receivers to start. I know that's not really the way some people like this year. They're switching up, but I love finding myself with a Nico Neighbors if I'm lucky, or a BTJ, St. Brown. Any of those combos of those late receivers feels really good for me to start. And then going with like a Kyron or a Brees as my anchor running back in the third feels really, really strong.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably my
like
favorite. I had a 5th earlier that I was able to get two running backs, and then was able to get McBride at 29. So
really?
I've never seen him fall that. Yeah, so that felt really good. And I didn't like running back, tight end, but that value was too strong not to rip. So that felt good.
Just a note too, everything we're talking about is usually DraftKings ADP, just because we live in a state where underdog's not allowed right now. So a lot of the talk will be DraftKings based. We will talk some underdog, but personally for me, I like picking 4 through 6. You get Bijan or Gibbs, who RB1 potential. You get the 6 spot, you can get Lamb. The 4 spot, Jefferson sometimes falls to 4. It always feels good to get him at 4. And then coming back, you can get Lamb, AJ Brown as solid 1-2 start from the middle of the draft there. So that middle spot there, Robinson and Gibbs just feel really good this year. Barkley, obviously the 2 spot, but all those touches last year. You never know. After a 400 touch season, playing 20 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still take him, but Gibbs and Robinson feel really good in the middle of the draft there.
Absolutely. And the other thing with that too, it's like Barkley could still start off super hot too, but your body after maybe another 400 carry season for weeks 15,
For
16,
sure.
17 could really just break down. We don't know.
And if he shows any sign of like wear and tear, they'll probably back off him too.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for the back-to-back for sure. I mean, they're going to save him for the playoffs, hopefully for week 17 for our sake, but they're definitely going to – if they have things wrapped up by then, it could be dicey for sure. But, I mean, Robinson and Gibbs are so young. Lamb is young too. I love taking Lamb in the middle of the draft there. Then Puka's there at 7. So that middle of the draft, there's just some real studs there. And then you get McCaffrey and Genty towards the end.
Yeah.
They don't feel as strong to me as Gibbs and Robinson do, but I mean, that middle of the draft for me, it just feels good.
Is there anyone in the first 2 rounds who you find yourself not taking as often this year besides Barkley that you're just kind of due to the price or the situation, you just don't like to pick so much?
I could jump in there. I'm really slow to take Ashton Genzy, because not because he's a rookie. I think he's a beast. He is a physical freak, but Pete Carroll already said like he's not going to rely on one guy. So it's kind of scary to me, like to just rip him at the 10 spot already.
Yeah.
Once camp comes along and like, let's say he shows anything or like there's more stuff that comes out, happy to take him there for sure. But right now it's kind of like, ooh, I know what I'm kind of getting with Nico and BTJ over there. Or Amon-Ra seems like a steal at 10 because he has a Q tag now on DK. So that's just how I feel about him. But
yeah, I think I'm in the same boat with the same player with Genty. He, you know, he's on a team that's going to be throwing a lot, presumably. And, you know, Pete Carroll.
Yeah, they'll probably be behind quite a bit.
Yeah, Pete Carroll's gonna want to spread it around, as we've seen anywhere he's coached. And I just don't. There's certain teams with the quarterback situation where I really like the players. I'm just a little gun shy, and I think just to piggyback off what Nate already said, I think Brian Thomas is like just a slam. Anytime I've got him coming around, when I've got a pick, like it's so easy and fun to stack the Jags this year. And they're so inexpensive, the rest of the stack, that it's just so easy. I'm also staying away. I wouldn't say I'm staying away from Henry because I do want to get a good amount of him. But I definitely want to hammer home that point of Barkley and Henry. I know they just got rewarded and paid in the offseason for what they did last year. But they are – I mean, Henry in particular is getting some serious miles on his tires there, and at a certain point it's going to happen, right? We see it with everyone.
For sure.
Like, you don't want to believe it until it happens, but I mean, we were saying that about Cooper Kupp last year, and look, it pretty much happened. So, you know, you want to be ahead of that, but at the same time, I mean, I was saying that about Henry last year, and it burned me not taking more of him. So you're always in that constant fight with yourself. Who should I be taking here? And that's just the way it is with McCaffrey. But I mean, we were talking about McCaffrey the same way like 3 years ago before he had his resurgence, where like, oh, he's had too many injuries, and then all of a sudden he gets traded to the Niners and he's going off again and is the number 1 pick. So, you know, with guys like that who are just freaks, you only get so many best balls. You got to take some of them, but I definitely want to, you know, gear more towards guys like Brian Thomas, where I feel like he's still on the upswing, Gibbs still on the upswing, and kind of stay away from those guys who the situation and the you know, just the mileage is adding up.
All right, and I don't know why I'm kind of feeling like this, but Ashton Genty kind of feels like Bijan Robinson's rookie year, where Tyler Algier took a bunch of snaps from him for Arthur Smith's own personal reasons. Not really hyped on Mostert or Zamir White as a backup or Sincere McCormick, but it's a possibility where he's not going to get this Kyron 90% of the snap workload either. Just because Pete Carroll mentioned it, but his first round ADP might not pay off. Not fully fading him yet, but I'm slow to take him until August, and because his ADP is not going to get much better than 10th or whatever it is now. So best case scenario, he falls to the second round, and I scoop more of him up there.
So I don't know if I'm avoiding, but I think it's hard to miss on the first 24, barring any injuries. But there were a couple, just like Trev. Henry's getting up there in age. Burned us last year. Burned me specifically. He's probably
because we didn't take him.
Right.
All of us
correct.
did not love him.
Right. Just to be clear, it was a user error, not anything else but that. But on this, at the same time, Henry is probably my least owned guy coming in this first 2 rounds. Nothing personal here, Trev, but AJ Brown also feels a little bit tough for me over there. Not because of the player, but just they don't throw a ton in that offense. And I'd rather a Higgins. I know it's a little early, but Rashee Rice, there's a whole thing with that. AJ Brown just feels a little bit tough for me. I'd rather grab one of those other running backs if that was the situation. So him and Henry and Devon Achane.
I think
are probably my 3 if I were to pick, because I don't know. He's got all the skills, but people are talking about Jalen Wright kind of maybe stealing some this year. If Hill and Waddle come back healthy, they're going to be throwing the ball, moving it down the field in big chunks rather than short dump offs to Jonnu Smith. And I also saw that Achane only had 1 game of 100 yards last year, either passing or receiving or rushing, which was kind of shocking to me.
Yeah,
I'd
once
rather a
Tua went
Jonathan
down,
Taylor for sure, and
they were all
that
fucked.
the wheels fell off for sure. But right there, I would rather a Jonathan Taylor or even a Bucky Irving maybe. But
You mentioned Rashee Rice. It's interesting because he's flying up the board, and it has been impossible for me to get him. He's going I've seen him go 14, 15. He's 21 right now on DraftKings. It's been impossible for me to get him. Even if I were targeting him, I'm not taking him early second round. It's not happening.
Right.
There's a lot of competition there. They drafted another receiver. Worthy came on, had 150 yards in the Super Bowl. A lot of it was in garbage time, but still. I mean, that's the Super Bowl is a big stage. Yeah. He's got – I'm not really knocking the pick. I see the upside case. It has been impossible for me to get Rashee Rice.
It's hard to take him where he's going, especially when you consider the fact that the year he really was going off, they didn't have much besides him. He was kind of getting forced the ball. I mean, they had Travis Kelce, obviously, but at the wideout position, they were really rolling with, Watson, and they didn't have much else besides him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, especially coming off an injury, it might take him a little while to really get to full steam. It's hard to take him over the people around him, for me at least right now. And I also just wanted to piggyback off just the Dolphins in general. How do you guys feel about them this year? Because, the last few years we're used to them being, an expensive offense to draft. And now all of a sudden we're seeing, Tyreek Hill sitting here at, where is his ADP? 35. I mean, that's crazy. Last year he was being taken first overall in some instances. And it's just, do you think he can bounce back? I mean, he had a lot of injuries last season. The situation is not much different. I mean, you still got McDaniels, you still got Waddle, you still got Achane. How do you guys feel about the Dolphins this year?
I personally can't get enough of Tua, Hill, and Waddle right now. I think their price tags are fun and easy to get to for me. Waddle's one of my top exposures at the wide receiver position. It's all contingent on Tua staying on the field, though, right? So I'm betting on it, and we'll see what happens. But I love grabbing Tua in the back, towards the end of the draft with either Hill or Waddle or both. So I really like them. I'm trying to stay away from Achane and Jonnu Smith a little bit less and just going with the two big dogs, the
I
receiver
think-
position. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I could jump in, I think if that offense is humming, it's going through Achan too. Like it. So I am. I'm pretty even on all the receivers with the Dolphins, but I think remember what they put up like 50 points or 70 points versus the Broncos like week 2 or 3 a couple years ago, and Tyreek had like 40 points and Achan had 40 points. So it's like that's that ultimate. Like, who knows if they could ever run that hot again with Cover 2? But I'm not going to fade Achan because I just don't want to miss out on that because he's that guy that can just break one at any time and score you 12 fantasy points in one play. Yeah,
Waddle's going right before Calvin Ridley, James Conner. So, I mean, Waddle's a pretty fun click right there. I'd rather have him than Mixon. I'd rather have them than Ridley. Ridley, we kind of know what we have there. Waddle, I feel like there's still some ceiling that we haven't seen. So,
I just opened up my Best Ball Explorer too, and just looking at these like the player exposure draft board, and I have 8% Waddle, which is right on the mark, but 2.3% Ridley right next to him, and Mixon is 5, so I'm definitely leaning there too. I'd like to be 3% higher on the other guys, but
I mean, at this point, I think everyone knows what you're getting with Ridley. And to me, the only upside to take Ridley for me this year is if you're really going after Cam. And in pretty much any other situation, I'm probably not drafting him. I don't have my my exposure pulled up right now, but I might have 0% Ridley. He's just feels really disgusting to me this year. And I can't do it in most scenarios. Like if I'm at that point in the draft, I'm usually just not looking to get that kind of player.
No, we're
do you guys like stacking Burrow, Chase Higgins?
I did it earlier today. I also did one with Chase Brown as well. My first one with all four guys.
Yeah, I mean,
it turned out okay. But yeah, no, I do. I have no problem with grabbing all three right there at 1, 24, and 25. Or if you're going Chase Brown and then or 49, 48 for Burrow. No problem at all, because I think it's going to be the middle of the draft, the end of the draft with those guys that separate you. So as long as you're drafting well, that might be the winning recipe for sure. Zero issue with that. I'm not going to do it every time, but I am going to click that when it's there sometimes.
Yeah, this point came up earlier in one of Tim's drafts because I saw him doing the Chase Higgins Burrow stack, and I did mention, kind of jokingly, but while I do like it, obviously I'm going to do it a bunch this year. Obviously that's something you want is a stack like that, but it is in my mind every time I do it that it's probably one of not only is it an expensive stack, but it's also one of the easier to get stacks and one of the most obvious. It kind of falls into your lap every time you are in the one spot with Chase. So that just makes me think, how many people are doing this? It's gonna take some really good drafting at the back end of your draft to make it unique and make it viable enough, I think, to take you there. So while I do like it, and it's hard to pass up when you've got Chase, and then all of a sudden, Higgins falls into your lap, and then Burrow is right there at the next your next couple rounds. It's hard to pass up, but it is in my mind that that's in a lot of people's stack this year.
Trev, that's interesting you said that too, because DraftKings released the data of the drafts so far this year, and the Chase Burrow Higgins stack is at 13%, 12.9%. And Tim, since you took Brown as well, that is, I think it was around 4% that people have, so it's not that common. Personally, I don't love it on DraftKings. I like it more on Underdog, just because that one last year you showed you can't overstack too much on Underdog, where with the bonuses and the uniqueness, where I'm more of a skinny stack, like one quarterback and one receiver guy. But that's just my personal preference. But I'm not knocking it at all.
Yeah, I think last year too, I was kind of doing a lot of stacking for the sake of stacking, and just it looks pretty. And when you pull it off, like with the giant 2-team stack where you get almost the whole offense, it looks great. And then you're psyched to see that pan out. But then when you get to the playoffs, it's like, well, yeah, all these players aren't going to be going off the same game, and it feels like you're leaving a lot on the table, especially when you get a stack like the Eagles last year, who, the Packers game was low scoring in terms of playoff best ball, and that kind of took out, half my teams just because
Right.
I'm never going to pass up an Eagle. I should pass them up more than I do. But, when you see those players and, like Tim was saying earlier with A.J. Brown, they just don't pass enough. So, they might grind out, a 24-21 win. And even though they're all great players, it's like that's not going to win you best ball. You got to think you need more impact players that are going to go off every week.
Yep. And that's like your second round pick needs to beat out the 11 other second round picks.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have your first and your second and your third all do that on DraftKings.
So speaking of which, Tyler, who do you guys like in the later rounds around, the mid 200s when you're just trying to fill out a roster and, you're not liking too much of what you're seeing? I try to, not take the same players in that range over and over because obviously not too many of them are going to hit. So I'm curious to hear who you guys are going with more often.
Yeah, I tried to take the same guys in the past. I always try to stack in the back end of the draft now. If I want to get another receiver, like if I have Jared Goff, for example, the Tesla, the rookie they have, Tesla, I like taking him. Even when I get Burrow now, I'll try to get Jermaine Burton in there. Not every time, but I mean, if I need a receiver, I don't like what I'm seeing. Jermaine Burton's worth a dart throw in these big tournaments for sure. Until we get the bad news in training camp where he's or whatever it might be this time around. But
he's got that Delonte
back
West
into the draft now, 200 spots. I'm trying to stack really.
He does have that vibe.
He looks like him. He looks like him.
He
does.
And that casino photo is
The casino picture is crazy.
yeah. Spider-Man.
It's like 4 a.m. and he's just been pulling that
there,
slot
buddy.
machine for the.
Yep.
Sure.
And I'm not
He
wearing
sure
no NFL gear. Well, I am, but not playing. Tim, who do you like in the back end of it?
So towards the back end, it's been pretty easy for me to click Rico Dowdle. He's been one of my go-tos. He's actually probably second most owned guy for me. We know Chuba Hubbard went crazy last year. I think that offense is going to be a little bit better this year. He's been he is my top running back right now. And I mean, the guy ran for 1,000 yards on a terrible Dallas team last year. He's got to be one of, if not the best, well, probably not the best, but one of the best RB2s on a team. Is Chuba Hubbard going to recreate what he did last year? We don't know. For sure, he's one of my favorites. And towards the middle of the round, it's more middle, but I also love Mark Andrews this year, who a lot of people are off of. He feels like a really fun, safe tight end in the 9th or 10th round. If you can get him in 10th and fill out that first or second tight end spot for you, it's been an easy click for me. I have 29% Mark Andrews. I love him.
Wow.
Got a chip on his shoulder after dropping that pass
one of
to
my
an
highest tight
AFC
ends, too.
championship.
Yeah. He's a really easy click when you've been punting tight end this year, just because it seems like every time I see him, it's hard to believe he's that late. I have a feeling he's going to climb up the rankings as we go through training camp, and we've got some videos of him looking like the old Mark Andrews, and so I think now's the time to take him as much as possible.
At the end, like round 18, 19, 20, I'm just checking my best ball exposure. I have a 20% Darius Slayton, and I think with Russ coming in and even Dart, like that could be an easy. I'm not taking Russ or Dart, but I think the offense is going to be a little bit better than with DeVito or whoever playing quarterback. So he could be a sneaky pick for some moon balls from Russ and maybe sneak in a couple long touchdowns. And then I did a little breakdown of Dyami Brown with the Jacksonville Jaguars in round 17, because there's all this talk where Travis Hunter might play 50% of the offensive snaps, then someone else has to replace him on that offensive side. And there's no one else going between rounds 5 and 17. So him, I'll mix in maybe 1% or 2% Parker Washington if I have Trevor Lawrence. Because that could be a little sneaky, unique lineup for the Millie. But I think what he showed on tape is he's got some wiggle. He's pretty talented. And I'm just a Liam Cohen believer. So I think that offense is going to be humming too. And it might look like the Bucks. And that might be, Dyami Brown might be that Jalen McMillan weeks 15, 16, 17, where he's going off a little bit. So that's just who I'm kind of gravitating towards right now for the late round guys.
Baker Mayfield with Liam Cohen, really, like, over the years, he was a decent fantasy asset. But last year, Baker with Liam really, I mean, you could just see it happening with Trevor Lawrence. And Lawrence is such a great profile. Just as a quarterback, he could blow up this year for sure. So you could definitely make the case that the Jaguars offense is ready to pop.
Yeah, he's been underwhelming, but I mean, they're both former first round picks. And like you said, like, he's 6'4", 220. Like, he could do it. He could sling it.
Yeah.
But
and a lot of times the patience with some of these guys too, if you give some of these quarterbacks patience and let them grow into what they need to be, like Baker, for example, I mean, it's not over for Lawrence yet. So you could see it happening.
Some of the picks I like late, I think, Justice Hill, whenever I need another running back, to me is like automatic almost. I kind of have to probably scale back on taking him, but it just seems so easy, especially when we're talking about, the mileage on Derrick Henry last year. He's another year older. They're definitely, as stacked this year as they ever have been. So they're going to want to keep him fresh in the playoffs. And Justice Hill is going to get his catches, especially in DraftKings, where that's a big bonus for us. I really like Justice Hill at 184. Kareem Hunt, I mean, it depends on how much you believe Pacheco's back this year. Obviously, if he can really get it going like he was 2 years ago, then it's going to go through him. But Kareem Hunt last year, I mean, they were really leaning on him and he delivered. So it's hard to believe they're going to completely come off him this year, especially with the way that Andy Reid likes to spread the ball around. And then Joshua Palmer, to me, I mean, talk about an opportunity in that Bills offense. I mean, there's just so much opportunity for someone to carve a role. It just feels like it's really an open competition this year. Shakir really didn't step up this year, or last year, I should say. He was okay, but we expect a little more out of him. And I kind of see Palmer in the same position Shakir was last year, where he's, he can make something happen. And at 178, he's a receiver I like late. There's not much around that, I think is really comparable in terms of ceiling. I mean, Michael Wilson doesn't have a ceiling as high as we thought it once was, but at 188, he's going to get looks in that offense. He's another guy I like to go with late if I'm desperate.
All right, next thing we're going to talk about, probably the last topic here. 2 quarterbacks versus 3 quarterbacks really gets everybody mad. Tim,
so
how do you feel about that?
In the past, we have all been 2 quarterback guys for the most part. Me specifically, you gotta let the draft come to you. If I'm taking an elite, anyone after or before Burrow, I think so. Lamar, Allen, anyone before Burrow, I'm probably gonna stay with 2 most of the time. I have no issue going 3 quarterback this year. Some of the data coming out saying that 3 quarterbacks were putting advance rates through at whatever it is. I don't have it in front of me. Last year, and then especially on DraftKings here with the extra 2 picks, I think it's fine to go 3. I think if you are going to go 3, you better make sure that you have some type of sack or correlation. Just taking a third quarterback, Cam Ward, with nothing doesn't make sense, and that's not the greatest example because he might be able to do something with his legs as well. But if we're taking a pocket passer as a third quarterback with no running upside and no correlation, I just don't really see the benefits of it. And then there's these people out here taking 4 quarterbacks. They're doing the weird two
Whoa.
Colts
You never
guys
know
at
who
the
might
end.
be a 4 QB guy in this room.
Well,
Just kidding.
if the shoe fits, buddy. But yeah, all that stuff is super weird. So I'm fine with 2. I'm fine with 2, even if it's middle of the draft guys. I'm fine with 2 if it's an elite, someone like a punt towards the end, like a Geno Smith. I'm fine with 3. I think you just have to look at what the draft is giving you, recognize what the other 11 drafters are doing, and
I'll tell you what they're
be
doing.
smart
They're
about it.
taking 3 QBs.
Yeah. Me and Justin did a draft
Minimum.
last night. Justin, who's not here, we were the only 2 with 2 quarterbacks. Everyone
I was
else had
watching
3,
that
and a
stream,
couple had
dude.
4.
I thought Justin was going to get blocked
Justin
out
is the
because-
5th draft god, by the way. There's 5 of us. We got 5 draft guys. Justin couldn't make it on tonight, but Trev, where do you stand on 2v3? What's your preference?
I always aim for 2. I think this year, I'm about 60 drafts in right now, and most of them have come in the last month or so. This year, it seems to be playing out a little different, and just because of how early running backs are coming off the board, I find myself just frequently running into a situation more where the quarterbacks seem to be going in bunches in the draft. And if you miss this year, it seems like we've got some situations at the end of the draft where it's like we don't even know who's going to start, especially right now until training camp pans out. So that's when I found myself being like, oh God, I'm sitting here looking at Aaron Rodgers, the Browns quarterbacks, and the Colts quarterbacks, and the Giants quarterbacks. And it's like, yeah, you should probably just gamble on one. But if you've missed your chance on your second quarterback and one of these guys is going to be your second quarterback, you're like, oh, well, am I really going to go with Jackson Dart and just hope he ends up starting at some point this year? Or am I going to say, look, I'm going to roll with the first quarterback I took and hope that he, plays out the full season. And then I can take, 2 Giants quarterbacks and just hope if there's an injury to my starter that they can fill in for a couple weeks and then he can take back over if he gets healthy again. So I think there's a couple of schools of thoughts to it. General rule, I want 2. That means my draft is falling the way I wanted it to fall, and I'm not scrambling for a third. If I've got good stacks for 2 quarterbacks, I'm almost never going to take a third. The guys in the past who who you would think had more upside going late, guys like Anthony Richardson, he seems more of a risk this year. So I guess it's a long way of saying I want 2. If I'm taking 3, it's because the draft's probably not going the way I wanted it to go.
Yeah, I don't think 3 is bad. I just think so many people. I mean, you draft and you see 8, 9, 10 teams all have 3 quarterbacks almost every single time you draft, and that's where it comes down. What it comes down to for me is, do I really want to be doing the same thing as 75% of drafters in this huge tournament? And then you have all those guys drafting 3 quarterbacks, and you get to the final, and everybody's like, 80% of the final teams have 3 quarterbacks, and it's like, well, yeah, 80% of drafters are drafting 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
it's gonna be high like that. So I'm perfectly fine leveraging it with 2 quarterbacks as much as I can. If I get in a situation where I miss out and I have like my first quarterback is, I don't know, McCarthy Love, I'll go 3 quarterbacks. I don't want to, but I will. And that's really the line for me, though. Like, if it gets worse than that, you still need to get points somewhere. So, but for me, it's just leveraging what everybody else is doing. Like I said, just next time you draft, look at all the teams: 3 quarterbacks, 4 quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks, and usually there's only one other team that'll be going 2 quarterbacks besides me. So I'm just trying to take advantage. I mean, I'm fine being wrong on it. It's something I'm slamming the table for. So, two quarterbacks for me is my preference. I just feel like it opens up a lot in your draft. You can be different in the final, where 75% of the teams are probably going to have 3 quarterbacks or more.
Well, Tyler, I think you've got kind of a unique perspective on this because you've won a large competition before. For those who don't know, Tyler is a $100,000 winner in DK Best Ball. And if you look at his roster that year, you know, he didn't win because of the back half of his roster. Like, you're not winning the Millie or whatever because you had that third quarterback that put you over the top. You're winning because that front half of your roster hit.
That team was 2 quarterbacks. I have developed a lot of bias ever since winning with 2 quarterbacks there, but it worked. I was able to make up a lot of points for the dead spots in my roster. That team had Henry Ruggs on it.
Yeah,
that was a dead spot in the roster.
For me, on Underdog, it's 2-5-8-3 all the way, the max possible combos. So I'll only take 2 quarterbacks there. I have plenty of Tua and Geno teams on there already. But Tyler said it and took the words out of my mouth, where it's like the Herbert, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, like round 10. I don't have that much draft capital invested in quarterbacks, and I feel like I have a balanced roster because of that. So then I'll grab a third falling quarterback, even if he's a pocket passer, where it's like, okay, I got Darnold at 200. Like, it's not the worst, because then there's just ultimate value there. And I mean, you could sack him late with like a Arroyo or something like that too. But I did one and took Anthony Richardson with like the second to the last pick in the overall draft. So 20th round, I'm like, worth a flyer instead of some other guy that might get a 0 anyways. So that was my thinking. And then just going back to it, it's like the DK Millie guy won with Goff stacked with Montgomery. So I'm like, must have good value there too. So it's not impossible. It's just kind of like, if I'm building out a 2 quarterback team, like I want to take one early before like round 10, and then I'm fine with those guys after it.
Agreed. I land on a lot of elite builds. I had Burrow, Allen, Hurts, a lot of my top quarterbacks this year. It's a little different for me. I feel like there's some leverage there too because everyone's off of elite quarterback right now. But you got the bonuses on DraftKings. And to Trev's point too, staring at Jackson Dart at the end of the draft is, I mean, it really got away from you when that happens. Yeah. It's going to happen once in a while. But I've been in that situation where you're staring at Jackson Dart and it's like, is this my QB2 right here? Really?
Yeah.
So.
I haven't pulled the trigger on him yet, but from what Daniel Jeremiah says on like NFL Network, he was like a former scout. He's like, Dable loves this guy so much that he's not even going to wait till Russ has a bad game. He's going to just be like, hey, Russ missed 3 touchdowns this game. That like it was incompletions. It could have been touchdowns. Like, I'm pulling it now, like week 6. So it'll be interesting what actually happens. But that was more, okay, maybe I should look at those, but I'm still not touching those Giants quarterbacks as a Giants fan.
Do the Giants want to play Dart this year? Is Jeremiah?
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. That's what he said on his recent podcast, where he said the analogy he used was that pretend it's November and your wife asks what you want for Christmas, and you're like, I could really use a new driver, and but you're like, hey, you just golfed, like pretend you're in warm weather. You just golfed twice and you're kind of suck, and you're like, let me take that thing out for a test drive. Like, Christmas is early. Let me just go out and use it. So he's like, he might not wait till week 15 and the team missed the playoffs to take him out and like let him sling it. He might be earlier, where if they're taking Dart over all these other quarterbacks that were in the draft, he must really like them. And just on the reports and everything that came out of the draft too, like that was their guy going into it. So they traded up for him, and we'll see, but I don't know.
Any final thoughts?
This doesn't have to be added, but I have 1.5% Trey McBride.
I don't think I have any of them yet.
Consciously fading him.
Wow.
But yeah, I saw that in my best ball exposure. I was like, shit, I got to take more of them.
I do too. But I just find myself going RB so early this year because, I don't know, if it's starting to feel gross if you don't take RB wide receiver early, because then I feel like I fall into those pockets where it's like Ridley, Cowboys running backs, and I'm like, I don't want to be here.
Mhm.
Like the Cowboys running back situation is just, if that's happening to me, like I feel like a victim.
Yeah,
And
this is
Right.
going to be it for Javante too. If he's dust still this year, then
Yep.
that's
It's
gonna
so
be it for
crazy,
Javonte
dude.
Williams.
It's so crazy because he is young, which is crazy, but
Yeah.
he's not like talented or he doesn't have any juice left. Like, what the hell is happening? He's 25. He just turned 25.
bad surgeons, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm
But that
going
whole
to pay the
backfield's
price for it
nuts.
too.
Yeah.
I've been taking a lot of Javante as my second, sometimes
Really?
most times
I
third,
like
but
it.
sometimes
I
second.
think it's a bet on that he bounces back, and I like it. I love it.
Yeah.
If it hits big.
I
Yeah.
got 14% Javante.
Oh
I
my!
like to be
I'm right
about
there. I have the
6%
exact.
lower.
If he can
No,
play
I-
like Dowdle did last year, I mean,
I
you're
was
getting
about
some.
to say that.
Yeah,
They're beefing up the Cowboys O line, but then you're going against the Eagles defensive line and defense twice a year. You're going against the Giants, who just have another pass rusher, and so it's like, ooh, that's kind of scary too. But that doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Like someone's got to run that ball, and that's what Shaddy wants to do on that offense. So, and then Lamb and Pickens are out there. Ferguson's not the worst, so that might open it up a little bit for the running game. I just don't know what they're doing. They're going to re-sign Zeke. Watch.
Well, I'll tell you
Sounds
right
good
now,
to
I
me.
don't like Metcalf this year at all.
Why not? Let's talk about it. Let's air it out.
I don't know. They
Let's
don't.
get
The
Justin
same
on
thing.
here.
They like to run the ball over there too.
Yeah, but they have
He-
no other receivers at all. So that's where I'm like, they got to throw at least twice.
They have no quarterback either, though.
What?
I mean, inevitably
He
they'll
is
get
dust, dude.
and-
Good luck Rodgers playing in the
I mean-
cold in fucking December. He's 45.
Like I'm not taking Metcalf over Sutton, JMO.
I agree.
Just not doing it ever. Definitely not over Tet. We had that discussion. Travis Hunter, I mean, he's just younger on a better offense. Zay Flowers. Pickens feels even better.
But he's still 6'4", 230 and
I
runs a
get
4.3.
he's a unit.
So it's like
He is.
it's scary. I
Let me
can't
see what my
only. I don't know
exposure
how much I have of him.
I have
I've got
3%.
9%. I like to be 1% lower.
I'd like to be 3% lower.
It's staying in. It's staying in. No, I agree. It's a hard click where he's at for sure. But he might
What
be
did
that
he
Devontae
have?
Adams for
It's
Rodgers.
66
You know what I mean?
catches last year.
So what? Who was his quarterback, bro? I'm
His
not saying
quarterback
Rodgers
was-
is way better than him, but
I think
Devontae
Geno is
Adams-
better than Rodgers at this point.
This is what we need on the pod, baby.
oh, okay. Sorry.
I know.
Sorry. My bad. You're right. I was thinking.
You
my
thought Pete
bad.
Carroll was the quarterback?
No. I swear to God, I definitely didn't think he was a quarterback.
No, it's a hard click. But I even think, as much as I like Jamison Williams too, I think he's a kind of a hard click where he's going this year too.
Not me.
He's
I
fine.
love Jameson Williams.
I mean, I'm probably keeping him in our league, but he just seems, I don't know.
He's
I
the
understand.
Waddle of that offense, and he's
Mhm.
going a round or two before Waddle.
Yeah.
It's like hard to be. I mean, at least he's not. Laporta's not better than him, but they're not getting more volume than him. at
they
least.
lost Ben Johnson too, so it could look way
Right.
different.
Yeah,
I mean, that whole offense is almost, gone by 44. It just feels expensive to me. Gibbs, St. Brown. I don't know. I said I like Pickens on the Cowboys, unfortunately.
I like him too. I think he's going to have
Right.
a lot opened up.
Yep. And that's kind of what I mean. Like I'd rather go James Cook or Kittle in that Metcalf range and take one of these receivers that I prefer the next pick, whether it's Flowers, Pickens, Waddle,
But
feels like
yeah. No, you're
Go
right.
ahead.
You're right.
I
I
guess
agree with you.
there is that like small sliver, I guess, that it's like, well, Aaron Rodgers was fresh off an Achilles injuries in his 40s. Maybe he needs another year to get better, but then it's also like odds are no, he's probably. I mean, he was really bad last year.
If he
like,
plays the first 3 or 4 games bad, he's gonna
yeah,
he's gonna
right.
pack it in. He's
He's
gonna
gonna
be
dominate
like,
it,
fuck
for sure.
this.
yeah, yeah.
But look at Devontae Adams' game log, though. I just went to
That's
it. I'm
true.
like,
Adams came on down the other
because
season.
Rodgers because I had so much Garrett Wilson last year, and I had zero fucking Devontae Adams, and he just 9 catches, 198 yards, 2
He
touchdowns.
went off.
Like,
He went
it's
off down the end.
stupid.
I
So
remember
that's
specifically somebody in this room was teasing me for my Devontae Adams exposure last year.
was it me? Because it's probably me.
Guilty. Yeah, because I had a ton. You kept saying how old he was.
Week 15, he had 45.8 DraftKings points. First round of the playoffs.
I just think he's what, 5 years younger than Adams. I just think if Rodgers isn't dumb, he knows he doesn't have any other guys on that offense he could throw the ball to that he trusts. So I'm like, he could get 15 targets every game. That's always in the back of my head as a top outcome ceiling. But still, I'm not like crazy 20% Metcalf. I like the other guys better.
It seems like though there's like an unusual amount of older guys who you're just waiting to fall off this year. Like you're just like Evans, everyone thought it might be last year and he was still nasty. But it's like every year it could be that year. You got Henry, you got McCaffrey, you've got what's his name? Tyreek Hill. Like they're guys who Devontae Adams, they're gonna produce, but like you just don't know if they're gonna produce at the level you need them to where you're taking them anymore.
Diggs is another one.
Diggs, but Diggs is
Cooper
later.
Kupp.
I
There
don't
really
mind,
is a lot.
I kind of Ridley like I there's guys who like Diggs I like because he's late enough that I'm like, okay, I could just start a fucking Patriots stack here in the middle of the draft, like as a plan B.
I love Stevenson, dude. I love Stevenson. I've got so much Stevenson.
I like him too.
It's true though. Trev's right. All these older guys, like after you get the Cup, you got Golden, Ibuka, Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris, Luther Burden, Kyle Williams. All the rookies fall after those guys. Where are they going to fall off this year?
And there's so many high rookies too. That's the other thing. You're like, all right, which one of these guys is just going to fucking burn me like Jonathan Brooks did last year? Because you've got some guys going so early, and then I'm trying to get more of Iguki, because like I know that they got Godwin and Evans, and they're gonna have every chance to like be the guys again. But like they took him 19.
He's a dude. He was like, I don't watch a ton of college football, but as a freshman, he was like, I remember saying to Justin, like, just wait. This guy is like running laps around Michigan right now. Like he was so good. I don't know why he fell off so much like last year, and he was like in the running for all those awards 2 years ago. But I think he's legit too. And what they're saying in like the camp stuff is like Baker was like he already knows the whole offense. Like he could play in the slot or on the outside, which is kind of scary. But I'm not taking much McMillan because of that. But then when they drafted him too, I was also like, is Godwin like hurt more than like should his ADP be lower? Like is he not coming back like week 1? But I think the reports are he might.
That must be part of it, where it's like even if he's not, it's definitely insurance. It's like, okay, well, if Godwin and or Evans falls off, because they like obviously it's going to happen at some point. Got this guy now, but like there's so many of those guys who like I don't know what to do with, like Tracy. All right, I was ready to be like, yeah, Tracy, and then they take what's his name, Scatty-Bows.
Yeah, Scatterbro.
And then ETN, like he's 106 this year. Okay, he was what, the first round, second round pick last year. It's like, all right, is that like a down year and he's going to do better this year? There's so many of those guys. I don't know what to do with like Bateman. He finally came on last year, and it's like, well, was that just a flash in the pan? Coleman, you give him another chance. He was going so much earlier last year, but then those same guys are in my mind. Like Higgins, he's got an opportunity for a huge target share, but it's like then I still have those guys in my mind last year that just didn't pan out, and I'm like, you know, Trey Harris, Shaheed. I want him so bad, but the quarterback situation is so scary.
It is.
Like, he's a speedy receiver. Is he even going to be able to get the ball to do what he does? I don't know.